Hi guys, I'm Rex King. Welcome back to Monday Night Horror Show. I was off last week because of personal matters, but I wanted to go right into Anaconda. Anaconda was released in 1997. It was directed by Luis Loza. I apologize if I mispronounced that name. And stars Jennifer Lopez as a head of a documentary film crew looking for this mythical tribe in the Amazon. However, along the way, they run into Jon Voight's character, who is a snake bounty hunter, and he ends up basically taking the crew captive to fight and capture one of the world's most deadliest snakes, anacondas. This film was released in 1997. It made $150 million on a budget of about $49 million. So it was a success at the box office. However, critics bombed it, saying that it was too dumb and really not interesting. It was nominated for 6 Razzies, including Worst Film of the Year. Does it deserve that? Yes. Yes, it does. This film sucks. Let's start with the story. The story is your stereotypical cheesy creature fest. It's not terrible. It could work. In fact, I enjoy other movies like this. It's just that this film has not much going for it. I mean, giant snakes to me aren't that creepy. It would have had to be extra cheesy, like some really good performances and some really good characters. Too bad the characters are also garbage. There aren't really anything to talk about. They're all one-note character traits. And the performances, well, they're even worse. Like, extremely worse. God, they're bad. So, I don't know who the casting director for this film was, but what were they thinking? Jennifer Lopez does not fit this role. Ice Cube is in this film, and he does nothing at all, really. And then we have Owen Wilson, who normally is funny, but isn't even funny in this film. And you then have Jon Voight. Oh, dear Lord, Jon Voight. Jon Voight is an Oscar-nominated actor. What is he doing in this film? Because his character is supposed to be this cheesy bounty hunter going to kill the monster because he really wants to capture it for money. He could play this role maybe if it was written better, but it's not written all that well. And I don't know whose decision this was, but they decided to give the character a weird accent, which comes off as nonsensical and just terrible. I really don't understand that decision, and it doesn't really work for the film. Oh boy, this was unfortunate. I really don't understand where this movie got its ideas from. I mean, the visuals aren't terrible. Yes, the CGI hasn't aged well, but I don't hold that against the film. But the backgrounds, some of the green screen is just absolutely awful, and I don't even know why it is that way, honestly. Then you have the score. The score actually could have worked. It's decently done by Randy Eldman, and he does a decent job. It's just that the score here feels like it belongs in a nature documentary. Like, it doesn't feel like it belongs in this style of film at all. At the end of the day, Anaconda has just so many problems with it. I can't recommend it. A lot of people like to say that this film is so bad that it's good, but I didn't even find any enjoyment in how bad it was. At the end of the day, I give Anaconda a 3 out of 10. Now, normally this is where I end my video. However, because of the fact that I had to take a week off, I'm going to have to do an additional movie today in Incident in a Ghostland. That way I can keep my schedule. Incident in a Ghostland was released in 2018 and is about these 2 girls named Beth and Vera who move into their aunt's house only for them to be instantly attacked by these 2 men who break into the house and hold them captive. Now, I'm going to get into spoilers in this film, so if you haven't seen Incidents in a Ghostland, please stop watching this video now and go take a look. Then come back and finish the video, because I do recommend that you watch this film, because it's decent. It does have a couple bits of controversy. One being that the actress who played Vera in a scene is banging up against some glass, and during the production, the director told them to hit the glass harder, leading to Vera's actress to put their head straight through the glass on accident, which caused her to have a facial scar and now has led to a lawsuit. I don't know the results of that lawsuit either because it's still ongoing or because it just hasn't been reported. Also, critics bombed it for being misogynistic and transphobic. I will get into those later. The story is interesting. It follows these two girls who, like I said, just moved into their creepy aunt's house. And we don't get a ton of time to get into their character tropes. Beth is a wannabe writer who loves H.P. Lovecraft, and Vera's much more of a realist. However, feels like her mother has just basically preferred Beth over her. What makes this film's story work is the added element of some fantasy scenes. So technically, Beth, while being held captive, imagines a completely different story just in her mind to escape the trauma. And it's really interesting what goes on here. And I like that idea because we don't actually realize that it's a dream until like halfway through the movie when she snaps back to reality, which works because you think that the incident that happens at the beginning of the movie is over and that this is the aftermath. But in reality, the incident is still going on. It's just she's thinking of a better time to try to like escape the reality of her situation, which works for this film. Now, unfortunately, if you know that twist is coming, I don't think this movie has a ton going for it. So I don't think this film has a ton of rewatchability. The characters are well done for the most part, with the exception of our two bad guys. Our two bad guys are a big dude who I guess has some mental problems because he just really likes sniffing dolls' crotches. And another person who may be transgender, which leads me to the issue with the film that this film people believe is transphobic. That's not necessarily what I get out of it. In fact, we don't get to know about this character that much, nor like any of her background. So it could just be a dude in drag, or it could be someone who's transgender. We're never really told, so it's really left up to the imagination, and I don't think it would have affected my film watch. Now, some people are complaining about it because they think that they're doing something perverted to the main characters, but technically the person who's allegedly transgender isn't really doing the perverted stuff. It's more of the big guy who is, and he's definitely not transgender from what I can tell in the film. So I don't necessarily feel that way. What I do feel is that these two villains are not developed well enough. The only motivation we get is big man likes to play with dolls. That's it. That's the only motivation we get, and that's unfortunate. Now, I skipped over this, but the other one is the misogynistic part that people complain about. That has to do with the fact that these girls spend most of the movie getting beat up by these two dudes, and to be honest, they don't get to finish off their captors. A nameless police officer comes in and shoots the captors dead. I don't necessarily feel like this film is trying to be misogynistic, just like they ran out of ideas to how to end the movie because these two young girls can't take on two full-grown adults, especially the big guy, by themselves. So I think they were just like, we have to write in this last-minute way of defeating these two, and it feels lazy, but I don't think it was intentionally misogynistic. So both those complaints, I don't feel like impacted my viewing of the film. Then you have the performances. All the performances are amazing, especially the person who plays the older version of Beth in the fantasies. And that, she's really good. She mirrors younger Beth perfectly. Like, the way she speaks, the certain patterns in their speech, it's really well done. You really can't tell that they're different people, except by the age difference. At the end of the day, Incidents in a Ghostland is a fine film. I don't think it's fantastic, but I don't think it's terrible either. I think it's good for one watch, but afterwards, you're probably not going to want to watch it again because, like I said, all it has going for it is that twist ending. So I'm going to give the film a 5 out of 10. Again, I stress there is some things to enjoy, but with the fact that the rewatchability is low, I do have to give it a lower score. Well, next week is Halloween, and I am going to be watching House of Wax. I'll see you then.